Welcome to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Joyous conversations about what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about our one reality. You have nothing to fear. You are eternal and you are perfectly loved. Knowing the truth changes everything. Now, here's Roberta.
Welcome to Seek Reality. I'm Roberta Grimes, and I'm so happy you're with us today. Recently, we've met a few very wise and very thoughtful counselors and life coaches on Seek Reality, and our guest today is probably foremost among those new people that we've introduced to our mix. You know, our time on Earth, both yours and mine, really doesn't seem to be all that long when you look at it from my perspective, but many people get into their lives and they start in, and then partway through they start to feel as if maybe they might be stalling out a bit, lacking in energy, direction, ideas, not sure which way to go next. And if that ever starts to happen to you, then the help and the perspective of someone like our guest today can make all the difference. Karen Fullerton is a certified quantum energy teacher and thought leader, and she's our guest today. She concentrates on helping people develop new energy for maybe the next stage of your life. She's founded her own nonprofit. She raised 7 figures for it, and she wrote a book that she called Sergey's Eyes, Reflections of Soul Lessons. But the agent who introduced Karen to me wouldn't send me her book because apparently that's not what Karen Fullerton is all about. At least that's what I was told at this point in her career. She started over too. What Karen's work now is all about is helping people to emotionally flourish and spiral up. Karen's website tells us that she's a popular speaker now who helps audiences to get their groove back and feel excited for their futures again. She says that emotions are the key to unlocking the power of your mind. More than what you feel, emotions are energy frequencies guiding you to spiral upward in life, relationships, and business. And of course, you and I know all about that fact, don't we? Karen has learned that success is not a product of determination or the mind alone, but emotional energy is the catalyst for mental wellness and for spiritual and professional growth. And again, that's something that I teach too. She talks about how emotions are the language of our soul. She asks her audiences if they're ready to interpret them now and to spiral up their excitement for life. Karen loves awakening others to discover their inner expert. We could find out about that from her, and to facilitate their own self-empowerment. She's a storyteller. She says she's a pet and nature advocate. And Karen, welcome. I'm so happy to have you back with us again.
Thank you so much. Wow, just hearing that. It's made me realize, wow, what's next, right? I'm always on to something else. So thank you for reading all of that.
Many people stall out partway. Many people have to reinvent themselves partway through because, frankly, whoever you are when you're 20, 25, 30, even 35, is not the person, perhaps, that you thought you were going to be, and you've got to stop and think about it. And those are the people, I think, who need someone like you to help them think it through again. Isn't that the case?
It is. And so often when we get in those stuck spots, we feel like something's wrong with us, or that's where the mind starts to spiral us down a little bit, limiting beliefs. What's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? And then, of course, the emotions tag onto that. And actually that stalls the freedom of future, whatever, creativity or pathways. So a really simple part of it is just to release that judgment when you're in I'll just call it a stalled space. But what I've learned is it's not really stalled, it's resting. We all need to rest. Everybody needs to gather their energy, physical energy, spiritual energy, and be ready for the next step. So harder said than done for somebody who is very started with the determination and the mindset of
Right.
success, but to enjoy that space and that rest time.
Enjoying is hard if you don't know where you're going from here. And and we talked about this last time too. You primarily focus on helping women. Why is that?
I don't like limit it, but just like marketing, you have a niche. Who resonates with your product, your service the most? And I don't know if it's because I am a woman or not. I mean, that probably has something to do with it. But I feel like the stories that I have and that I've been through resonate more with women, the trying to do it all, the success, from the career aspect while taking care of self. And I don't have children myself, but I'm married, I had nieces, the home life. And so a lot of that, I think, just resonates more with women than men, but that doesn't mean that the core emotions or the core energy aren't the same. So yeah, I just say women because that's also, honestly, we're going through a lot of generational and not just generational upshifts and patterns, but collective. And so the woman, the female from the past to now has gone through so many changes, and energetically, we are now releasing a lot of the suppression that has come along with that journey. And so I focus on that as well.
A lot of the past was about repressing who you maybe really thought you were or who you wanted to be, because that was what society was about. You had to think about being the person society expected you to be. And if you wanted to be somebody else, well, that was not
Yeah.
who you could
And
be.
I mean, not just women. I mean, there are races, right, that have it even more dramatically, than as a woman collective has. Black people, slavery, all of these things have a DNA, genetic, energy, spiritual effect as we move forward. So,
And
yeah,
religions. I mean, some of the religions really suppress one gender, both genders. People in India had, until very recently, been suppressed as well. So, if you want a certain kind of life, this is a wonderful time to be young, because really people are liberated now more than they ever were. I think. I mean, I love being able to say that, because I remember what it was like to be young in the 60s, and we suddenly found ourselves with more options than people ever had before. And in the 70s, and yet it's even free. We're even freer now than we ever were then. It's quite wonderful to be young now.
it's more free. And on some aspects, I also teach a college business classes as well. And so I see these younger generations, and they do have a lot more freedoms, yet there is also a lot more pressure. There's so much technology. Things are changing so fast that we talked about rest before. I feel like there's less time they feel that they have to rest. And that is so important, even if it's 5 minutes a day in nature, something that can come back to self.
Right.
It's so important.
And if you have all that freedom, oh my goodness, you have so many options. How do you choose? That's another issue that comes with being young now. You have so many choices.
In freedom, it's interesting. My very first, I'll say, professional job, it was when I was an undergrad, and it was the summer in between, my semesters. And I got up at 6 a.m, had to drive to work, be there at 8 in the morning, didn't get home until 6:30. Took my clothes, changed, had dinner, and I thought, oh my God, is this what life is going to be like? Because I had 2 hours to myself. And I swore to myself then, I'm like, this is not for me. And that was really a catalyst, even though I did go through school and had marketing jobs, which was a little bit better because it was more interesting than what I was doing at the time. But that's why I went into my own business. And then, of course, you learn along the way. I did that and I found, oh, well, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And so you learn and you integrate. Integration is a key word that I use a lot. There's rarely anything that's black or white, but there's so many colors in between. I don't like to use the word gray area because that to me has a downer, a negative connotation, but there's all the colors of the spectrum. And so it's about learning and creating your own artwork, so to speak, with your life. And how do you do that? And that's part of what I do is I help people really go to that inner expert, our higher self. We all have it. It's just we need to quiet ourselves, quiet our mind to truly be present, to be able to recognize it. And that's where our emotions, as you mentioned, speak to us, speak through us. They're part of our biology. They're not something separate. And we can definitely change our path. What we see is, a linear progression of I'm here and I want to go there through energetically changing the biochemistry of our body. We might leapfrog that because now we're ready for something else. Or what we used to think was the end to our means now becomes just another stepping stone to the true desire that our inner self, our heart, our emotions are leading us to.
It's also important for people to realize that there's no such thing other than if you commit a crime, there's no such thing as a mistake. Because even if you choose wrong now, that can be a stepping stone towards something that you might like a lot more. For example, I always thought I wanted to be a lawyer. And then I went to law school and spent the money on law school and discovered when I was probably, late second year, when you start actually trying to do moot court and stuff, I decided the last thing I ever wanted to do was actually do courtroom law. So had I wasted that time? No, I looked into other things I could apply my legal training to and decided that one thing that where there was one place there was a real need was for business owners to have counsel from attorneys who had my knowledge and my abilities, and they didn't need me to go to practice courtroom law. So that's what I went into initially. So had it been a mistake to go to law school? No, it turned out it hadn't been. And that was has been a wonderful career for my whole career.
I'm curious, how did you come to the determination that you didn't want to be in the courtroom? What was that factor for you?
Oh, it was a combination of things. The first thing I realized as I did the whole moot court thing was that everybody is an adversary. It isn't just the two lawyers fighting, but you also have to be, to some extent, an adversary against your own client, because there are things you don't want them to tell you because right now what I do in my life is teach love. I teach the teachings of Jesus. I study the Gospels and teach all of that. That's who I am at my core. And if who you are at your core is someone who teaches love all the time, then I was just not built and constructed to be in an adversary position all day long. It just was not me at all. So at my very core, I was not built to do courtroom law on any level. And so I was so adverse to the very atmosphere of the courtroom, and yet many people loved it. They loved that atmosphere, but it was not me. I literally was made sick by it, by being in that space.
And see, that's an example of what I mean by following your inner teacher or your inner knowingness or inner expert. You felt it in your body. You had this awareness.
And
it doesn't come naturally to many people, because we've been taught, we've been programmed through society what success is, and maybe what we're good at, or we've had family businesses and people just maybe thought, like we talked about before, ooh, this isn't, I don't like this, but I'll get over it. I'll get through it
What was
because of the
curious was that
money.
I loved law school until I got to the practice part. I loved the studying the law. I loved the way the law worked. I loved the legalese. I loved counseling. I loved everything until I got to practicing courtroom law.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show you.
And yeah, so you opened yourself up to it, and you incorporated those things in other areas of your life. Like I did with my foundation with helping sick and injured pets. I've always been an animal advocate, lover, had pets when I was younger. And I also, when I was little, my grandmother was in the hospital a lot and I would roam the halls. I wanted to help people. I wanted to be a nurse, so to speak. Well, as I grew up, I was very averse to blood. Couldn't take it. My stomach, I just could not take
You're
it.
a nurse if you're adverse to blood. See,
Right. Or
that's
a
it.
veterinarian. So
Right, or
lo and
veterinarian.
behold, what kind of, I want to say, fell in my lap, it came out of passion and emotion. I didn't start my foundation out of a business model mindset. I set it up out of, heartfelt desire to help others after a pet of mine passed. And so, what am I doing? I'm helping. I worked with veterinarians all day long, hundreds, as we coordinated care. I I learned so much about, care and tests and what was needed and those things. Like you said, the courtroom aspect that ignited you without actually having to see the sick and injured pet. I didn't have to see them. I didn't have to see the blood. And the same thing with healing and the work that I do. I don't have to be a physical nurse in the work that I do and help people heal from the inside out, so to speak. That brings in that nurse part of me as well. So blending animal and the healer, the nurse part of me in a totally different scenario than I ever would have known 20 years, 10 years, 5 years before I did it, because we're always on a journey to discover more about ourselves. And the more that you listen, like you did, and just say, okay, well, I love these parts of it. I'm going to take these golden nuggets and I'm going to follow my love, right? My spreading and of value and messages of love, they kind of merge naturally, as long as we don't get in our own way, so to speak, and try to force something that is out of
Then you have to
alignment.
say, all right, this is what I love doing. Who can I do it for? And I became one of the earliest certified financial planners in the whole United States. I'm number 812 in the entire country. But I quickly learned that all the stuff I knew was like, applying an express train to a tinker toy. I knew much too much to just work with couples, work with families. But I was at that time, we were living in Plymouth, Massachusetts, which was full of cranberry farmers. And they were businesses and they needed a lot more than just, individual advisors could give them. But I had all the skills that they needed. They needed, contracts and estate planning and, business planning of all sorts. And I could do all of that because of all of my legal training. So that's what I started advising cranberry growers, and that moved on to all kinds of other businesses. And pretty soon, within a couple of years, I was advising all kinds of businesses and professionals. I started also advising doctors and lawyers. I mean, not lawyers, dentists and other people like that in this small town, in Plymouth, Massachusetts. And that's how I started. So it's sort of a career that found me, and I still work with businesses. Some of them I've been working with almost my entire career that I still work with now. So, but the point is that your career can kind of find you if you find the things you do best and you really like doing as well.
One of the biggest questions I get when I'm working one-on-one with people is, um, is my purpose my career? Or why isn't I feel like I have this purpose, but my career, I can never get going in it. And honestly, your purpose doesn't have to be a job. And we don't
Right.
find, we don't find our purpose. We are living it every day. And it's just uncovering it, as we go along. It can be simple as a smile and a friendly statement to a cashier to shift the energy in that moment for that person. So we're walking our purpose. I remember the forest fires in Australia a couple of years ago, and my sister became part of this group that was knitting pouches for all the baby kangaroos, because they lost their, and that's a purpose, right?
Of
I mean, I'm getting
course it
chills.
is.
Yeah, you can be anything. You can be an accountant. You can be a lawyer. You can be a shopping cashier. It doesn't matter
Right.
what your career
Right.
is. And so
Right.
that's, when we're talking about, your jobs and my jobs and what we're doing, I think it's important to separate that. And what helps you to I feel like find the job or that is right for you is what you enjoy versus thinking it has to be your purpose, because your pathway, this divine design is beyond our scope of understanding. But if we're always walking with what feels right, what interests us, it could be for 6 months. I can't tell you how many jobs. I used to switch jobs every 2 years because I'm like, well, I loved it there. I got what I needed. Now I'm going to go to a different one. And people looked at me like I
Yes.
was fickle. And I'm like, no, I'm following my own path. And so that's the one thing that comes up a lot is the difference between career and purpose and being open and just doing
Career
what you
can be
love.
purpose, and you can be doing them all simultaneously.
It can be
That's
anything.
how I got all involved in studying the afterlife,
Hmm.
because it was something I had had an experience of light when I was 8, and I also was doing that research as well, and that led me to write to discover the afterlife, and then to write all the books that I did and that I wrote, and then to start doing this as well. And I've been doing it all simultaneously while I was pursuing my career. So yeah, you
Yeah.
can do all this stuff, and there's no limit on how many I sort of passions, I would call them, you can have all at the same time. You don't have to have only one or two or three. You can have seven.
You can. And it goes back to what, passion is about feeling, right? We can probably all agree when we feel passionate, we feel the passion. We don't think the passion. And
No,
so
no,
that,
it drives you. All these things drive you.
yeah,
And they all are reasons why you get up in the morning, and why you organize your time more carefully so that you can have time for all of them in the course of your day. And it's just more joyous to have more things that make you happy.
the more we can go from our thinking to our feeling first. So I might have mentioned this the last time I was on here, but we're so used to, and myself included for so many years, the power of our mind, which is very, very powerful. But I like to teach people how to check in with how they feel about something. And not only what our heart says. We think, oh, my heart says this. Well, so often our heart is hijacked by our mind. I don't need to get into like the biochemistry, everything, but literally the chemicals of our mind can hijack the feelings of our heart. And so I often use my body just check in with the feeling of my body. And this goes into a little bit of kinesiology, but whenever I'm looking to make a decision or how I truly feel about something, I just rest and I try to feel it in my body. And for me, everyone might be different. You might ask your body, what is a good feeling? Yes, this is right for me. I feel it in my heart. I just feel like a warmth or a tingle. And if something isn't quite right or not ready for me, I feel it like an upset stomach, and it works because a lot of times that will be conflicting to what my mind is. Oh, this person reached out to me. Oh my gosh, I've been wanting to do this. Go, go, go. And yet I check in and I'm like, oh, that doesn't make sense. But whenever I follow that, there's a reason. More information had to come to the table, that, time had to pass to benefit me. There was another opportunity that came in. And it's this wonderful sense of using your body and your emotions, like I said, like a language, just like our own words and our thought language to
People who
integrate.
are in touch with their primary spirit guide, and I teach that. So some people are in touch, and I'm very much in touch with mine. He's my guide, and he'll tell me, that's the direction or this is the direction. So I just sort of say Thomas, and he directs me. What's making sense, what's not making sense for the direction in which I'm supposed to be going now. He's
Yeah.
always been right.
I wonder if you've ever had the experience. So I've worked with I know a lot of people just personally too who are very connected and who channel, and almost all of them, and myself included in my own ways, I'm very intuitive, and I don't call it channeling, but I just hear my guides, my higher voice sort of within my own being. What do they call it? Like a clairsentient, more of a, I feel it.
That's what
Clear
I
audio.
think that you're sensing. Your guide is communicating through your body, and
Hmm.
that's what you're feeling. That's what I think you're feeling.
Yeah. But I feel like just like parents, our spirit guides are there to guide us, and we still have to make our own
Absolutely.
choices and
Oh, absolutely
mistakes.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Ah.
Because you worked out before you were born what all the what your plan was, what the bases were that you were going to try to touch, and where you were going to learn and grow and what you were going to try to do. And so he just guides me. And he's
Hmm.
been very, very good about the whole thing. He's been much surer about all. He has better sight by far than I do about it all.
And the guidance, I guess what I was getting at too is not always what you expect.
Yeah, yeah.
One time I was guided to go and speak at this creativity conference, and I didn't do my research. I just signed up because I got the go. And it was, granted, it was shortly after COVID, but there was hardly any people here. It was mostly speakers. And I didn't get the result that I thought I was getting. And so, of course, there's teaching, moments out of that as well. So everything that is good for us on our learning path might not always feel right. And a big part of that, I work with a lot of people on grief. People, grief is very
Yeah.
intricate. It's nonlinear, but there's so many people. And, after 20 years of my mom passing, I still had another layer. I thought I was quote unquote done, right? I had celebrated her birthday. I felt very joyful, but something else triggered that once another pet of mine passed away, and it really unraveled some things. And so grief is one of those things where it is teaching us how much we've loved. It really is. It's like the more grief you feel, the greater you've loved. And then, a lot of people are like, well, but I don't like to feel this grief. Well, would you rather not love that much, right? So it's shifting mindset, but also the fact of seeing it as a teacher. It's cleaning house, so to speak, a little bit energetically and creating new avenues to build moving forward. But yeah, grief is one of those things that we were talking about is not pleasant, but it's a great teacher and a learning lesson. And it does take the mindset to, this is going to sound weird, want to get through it. Most people want to get past it. I'm talking about going through it because a lot of people just want to be over, be done, or in my experience, people sit in it because they don't know how to get out of it. Or in a sense, it's comforting because they don't want to get rid of that attachment to the loved one, the pet that has passed. And so that is a lot of where I work emotionally with people to help them transform that and to shift them out not only their mindset into discernment about what's going on, but actually shifting their feelings from grief to love so that they can continue their forward momentum out of it and still, instead of still being, stuck in this loop of grief, because it can be very, devastating the longer that you sit within that.
So you have people who are grieving as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot a lot of people who you talk about gravitating toward me with women, people going through grief just tend to gravitate toward me. I work a lot with grief as an emotion. Yeah.
I'm not good at that because my instinct is always to be joyous for the person who has passed, which is not what they want at all. Because I'm so certain about what comes next, I'm not good at grieving. Even in my own case, I didn't cry when my beloved mother died. She was so central, still is, to my life. But I can't, it's sort of saying, I guess I'm not good at feeling, I'm not good at dealing with people who are grieving because I can't help but feel joyous if someone has been lucky enough to go to the next stage. Isn't that an awful thing to say?
No, we're all at our different levels and experiences. And even though my mind knows that, our body,
The heart knows
we're
it too,
here.
though. I mean, I really know it for certain. I mean, I've been.
Yeah. Yes, I didn't mean that. Yeah.
I just, my joy for the people who go ahead of us is such that I cannot, I'm really lousy at.
The grief is more about what we've lost.
You're much better at it. You are much better at it. I hear from people almost every day who are in grief, and I email them about their grief, and they tell me I have helped them. And I look
Wonderful.
at the email I've written, and it's full of joy, and I don't see how that helped them, but they say it did. So, okay, that was good.
It's a lifeline. You're throwing a lifeline to them when they
I
need it.
suppose. But what I say is, oh, I am so sorry I'm so sorry that you're hurting, but please know that. And I tell them about the joy that there is I especially feel bad for people who have lost a young person, but I am able to tell them about the joy there is around that person now. And please don't grieve too much, because know about the joy there is around that person. Know that no one, because they'll worry, oh, he's alone. Oh, she is. And I say, no young person who has gone ahead is ever alone, because they take such wonderful care of them there. And that comforts parents.
Yeah. And the grief that I focus on is more for the people left behind. We know where our loved ones go. We can have that comfort, and that definitely helps. But grief stagnates for us, right? We're the ones who are grieving the loss of having this everyday communication with them, or the everyday connection. And it doesn't have to just be a person. People carry grief around when they move. Whatever is left behind,
Karen,
a
you're so much
house.
better at it. Look how good you are. You're good at it. You really are very good at it. Good for you.
Well, thank you. So yeah. What
All right,
next?
so someone comes to you and they say, I just think somewhere in the last couple of years I zigged and I should have zagged, and now I'm just feeling off course. I just don't know what to do now. How do you help them? What do you do?
Well, first I help them see the perspective. I'm a firm believer that everything we do in life is part of divine design, even our perceived mistakes. There really are not mistakes, even as you mentioned, if they break, our laws of whatever it is, stealing or harming people. there are lessons in all of that. So hopefully this zig or this zag is, oh, right, I used my mind, I wanted this. It normally comes from, I call it a core limiting belief that just programs us, a rush for money, a rush for success, to have people see us, to like us, and we zigged this way. And now we're like, oh, I missed this relationship. It's the Hallmark movie all over again or something, I missed this opportunity. And so I work with that energy, and that has to shift to just reset the framework around that decision, because that becomes an anchor. That limiting belief that this is a mistake is preventing that, right? That energy anchor, like you're tied to a tree.
I was so confident I was doing the right things. And now I just feel off kilter. I just feel I don't know what to do now.
So I work to transform the emotion. First, we go into what emotions are you feeling, and we identify them. Part of it is just becoming aware. We identify the emotion. We even say hello, I say, to the intensity of the emotion. Because so often when we're triggered, everything's a 10, everything's a 9. I'm frustrated, I'm overwhelmed, right. 10, 10, 10. It's like, well, if you said 10 was, it's so bad, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to be in heaven or whatever, right?
Maybe,
that's a 10. And a 0. And so then people are like, oh, well, okay, maybe it's an 8. And then you start to have this conversation, like a harmony of emotion. Okay, well, frustration was rated as a 9 and sadness is at a 5. And you start to see this picture. So first is awareness. I work to get people aware of their emotion and their intensity. And then we transform it, and you'll love this, with love. So whenever you feel an emotion, you have the ability, energy in motion stays in motion until you transform it with a equal or higher. So that is love. And it's so hard for us to feel love for ourselves in those deeper emotions. So we can use words, and that can be anything. I have a phrase that I learned in just infinite love and gratitude. It can be a biblical phrase, anything that connects you to love. It can be looking at a picture in front of you of your child or your marriage, something that just when you look at it ignites love. And we go back and forth like this with the emotions. And 100% of the time, not joking, when we revisit how they felt with those emotions, it's like, oh, I mean, they might still be there, right? We're not looking like it's a magic poof, it all goes away. But it's always, oh, that feels like it's out here. I can deal with it now. Because that's where you're going. That's what I want. I help people going from their reptilian brain, the fight or flight, into, oh, the conscious cognitive. Oh, I see things differently. I've learned something. Now I can really be in my right mind to move forward. And that's what we all kind of need when the world takes us to our knees sometimes.
And are you able to sort of help them see how they can connect where they are now with maybe a positive way to go forward?
Oh, sure. So we part of that is developing intentions. Through not really goal setting, in the moment intention. What do you desire to feel right now? I am happy, feeling joyful or something. It's always present moment, because all learning, all progression happens when there's harmony first in the present moment. Because if you're not in you can't be scattered in here and try to go forward. That's not going to work. So yes,
to develop a base, basically.
Right. You have to harmonize, the present moment, and then that energy flows, and they come up with it. I guide, I'm a firm believer in empowerment. We're our own healers. Sometimes we just need a guide rail, like when you're going up the stairs. So oftentimes the inspiration or the intuition comes out through them, which is beautiful. So I might ask an open-ended question. What do you feel now? How does this look to you? What does success look to you now? How is it different, right? These open-ended questions. And in that conversation, they discover more about themselves. And the reason that it comes up in that moment is because they're coming from a pure connection of love, right? And in this moment of love and light, where all that reactiveness is in a love harmony. Now you can think clearly, feel more intensely from the true power of love versus a past reaction, a limiting belief, something in the past that keeps pulling us back. So definitely people do move forward more easily when that happens. That's how we
And
have to move
especially
forward.
understanding that nothing that happened is an end. There's always a way forward. It may not be directly forward, maybe it's a little to the side, and
Hmm.
which is what I discovered when I realized I was not a lawyer. I wasn't a lawyer, as I always had dreamed of being a lawyer. Remember Perry Mason? Oh, yes.
Hmm.
But I suddenly saw that there was a path forward, even though it was a crooked path from what I had thought. It was nevertheless, it looked like a good path forward. And that taught me something bigger than what I thought it even had taught me, that there always is going to be a path forward. It just may not look as I had
And
thought it.
reflection is your greatest teacher in that, because you reflect back and you see the positive aspects of those zigs instead of zags and where it led you. And so as you get older and you have more experience, we have more of those reflections and those experiences
Yes,
to, reflect upon. But every single one led me to something else that is now part of my joy. And
part of your joy. Yes,
wouldn't life be
exactly.
boring if we could just get everything we want in a straight line? And most people would
It
say,
makes
"Oh
your
yeah,
life
I'd like that."
deeper. Yes, and stronger and richer and more powerful and more beautiful. Yes. Yes, it adds so much to your life that was not there before. Oh, so much.
Mm.
That's so true. Yes.
I mean, think of like a parent with a child. If, there are parents that do everything for their child, and then all of a sudden they can't do for themselves. And I feel like that's the same with God. We're children. So when say, well, why can't I just have this perfect life and have everything how I want? Well, you do have to learn on your own and become self-sufficient, become empowered. I truly believe that. And even in the deepest, the darkest of times, doesn't mean it's pleasant. It's just part of the greater tapestry to move us totally to our heart and joy. Yeah.
And the life that you end up with is so much better and so much richer than whatever you planned for yourself when you were 18 years old or 20 years old.
Yeah. How
So
much
much
more do you
better.
appreciate the good when you've experienced the bad,
Or
right? Or
even, it doesn't even have to be bad, setbacks, little
yeah,
negativities that,
the dark or the light, right? Something that you want versus
yeah,
something that doesn't. Yeah.
it didn't work out that way, but it worked out, wow, this way, so much better. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the wonderful thing about life. It's 360 degrees plus. It isn't just a narrow little path that we planned for ourselves when we were kids watching Perry Mason and didn't know any better. Yeah, it's so much better.
And a lot of people are uncomfortable with, I'll say, experimentation or that creativity that, it's kind of like riding a bike. I say, you need the guide rails, have people help you, whoever it is, whether it's, a church or religious aspect or spiritual or a therapist or a healer, just help someone to have you balance until you can ride that bike yourself, and it starts out wobbly and then all of a sudden you can go faster and you can jump, ramps. I mean, it really is like that. You just
Yeah, right.
gain
Jump
momentum.
the ramp.
That was one of
Yeah.
my statements one time is shifting movement into momentum is that it really does. Once the energy is in flow, the inertia carries you forward with ease and it almost seems magical. And it
Yeah.
is, I guess, in a sense. But yeah, it just starts with where you are right now, just today, and take what you need for today. And that feeling that I was talking about, feelings versus always the mindset, getting the help you need, evaluating your emotions, and at the very least, if you don't know what to do, stop thinking about it and just be open. I know that, we're such powerful manifestors. Humans are so much more powerful than we even know. And our mind and our words are very powerful. And conscious attention to that alone can do more. So if you are trying to manifest and you're fixated on, I am, I am going to be a marketing executive. I'm going to be this marketing executive. And then all of a sudden, like that was my focus. Okay. And everything kept happening to get in that way. And so if we open it up to like what you said, what do you love? I love love. I love this. And say, okay, why do I really want to be that marketing executive? What is it? And I would say, oh, creativity. I love being creativity. I love being a mentor. I want to have that higher position so I can mentor. And so I write these things down that are truly important to me and then release it. Be like, okay, how am I going to get there? These are what's important to me. These are the values. And lo and behold, I'm a mentor now, right. And I do all those things that I valued without the path that really wasn't for me. So a lot of it is just releasing and surrendering. Not blindly like, oh, I'm not going to do anything. We have to do the work. We have what is important to us. Where's our value? Where's our joy? And then follow it one step at a time.
And sometimes just taking a step in any direction will release whatever's holding you back. Taking a 1-year course in almost anything can get you started in the right direction. Anything that interests you at all. I have seen that with young friends. Hey, I think I'll take. Here's a course in international basket weaving. Well, you know what? That interests me. I think I may take that course. And then she meets someone in that course, which leads her, and who is taking that course too, not sure what to do. And they decide they're going to take a trip to Nepal together. And that leads to something else. And pretty soon and then suddenly together, they discover something wonderful that they're going to do with their lives. Do something. Don't sit,
And even if it doesn't, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful example. And that's something that I try to instill in people, that it's a detour that has a greater scenic route, than when you stay on what you think your path is. But I took a comedy class, just a 2-weekend stand-up comedy class. That was, I wanted to do it. I don't know why. It was a little bit out of my comfort zone, but I did it. So it can be something quick. And I'm used to being on the stage. I used to dance and speaking, but this was different. It was a bit raw because it was comedy about me was the purpose.
Like a great idea. I'd like to do that
I got
too.
such a thrill out of it, and it got me out of my comfort zone. Yes, I got to talk to people because I'm a communicator, and a lot of times I work from home. But I noticed that the flow of just how I spoke was easier. I didn't get I don't know. I still get tongue-tied. I do that all the time because I overthink ahead of my speech. That's kind of what I do. I got to reel that back. But it just made me more confident with some of the things that I was feeling less confident, and I noticed a difference. So, and it was just fun. It was fun, and it just spurred that energy and elevated the energy that I was in. And it's always, so like you said, take a creative class, anything creative to get our minds out of autopilot. It can be gardening at home. It doesn't have to be a class. It can be anything. Mm-hmm.
It's nice if it's a class, though, because you can meet other people who may have taken it for a totally different reason, but they may have some of your same issues and concerns.
Yeah.
And they can help you to grow as well. I just really believe in going in a different direction, an unexpected direction, to see where that takes you.
Yeah.
It really can make a big difference.
And reaction and creation have the same letters. It's just how you see it. I had that on one of my Instagram posts, see it and see, haha, bada bing.
But it is true that each of us has one or more spirit guides at all times. And we all planned our lives with the help of a spirit guide. And that spirit guide is still with us. So if you pause and just open your mind, and as you do, if when you hear an idea, you pay attention to the reaction your body has, that's your spirit guide giving you an answer. Is this a good idea or not? And if it gives you a stomachache, probably it's not a good idea. Whereas if it kind of gives you a little exultant feeling, that may well be your spirit guide saying, hey, pay more attention to this idea.
Yeah. Just like we all learn in different ways. Some people are visual learners, some are audio. Your messages, like you just said, can come in different forms, the different C's, the clairvoyance or seeing versus hearing versus feeling.
Yep.
And that comes with, again, just being present and paying attention, just listening, just wanting to notice something that you're not used to or you're pushing away because you're not used to it.
But taking a step in any healthy seeming direction is pretty often, just about always, a good step. You never know, what you're going to find. We've had a lot of guests here on Seek Reality, by the way. Everybody can remember one who did that. And it was surprising what they learned. That's just a little aside from me. We've had a lot of guests like that.
Isn't it interesting? We're back to kind of action versus rest. And that's what we started on when I said resting is so important. Yes, action is very important, like you said, to take, but it's about knowing yourself. So like when I went to that comedy class, I had a lot of rest. I worked from home. I had a lot of downtime. We had storms here and whatnot. So I had just a lot of things at home. So taking action got me out of that environment. However, the opposite can hold true. If you're one that's always going and saying, this isn't working and this isn't working, it's the rest that will let you reset. So isn't it, that's kind of like the difference in the masculine and feminine energies of the divine at play, is that creation can come out of rest as well as, right? Rest on the seventh day, as well as actual creation. So there's a balance there too. Yeah.
I'm so sorry we're coming to the end of our time together. Yeah. We'll do this again because there's so much more that I wanted to talk to you about. We never even got to today because it's got to be so interesting.
That's what I said, our energy. I just feel like I can chat away with you. It's so wonderful. Thank you for having me on.
What would you like people to take away from our conversation today?
Oh my gosh, we talked about so many things. If I had to summarize it in one or two things, the last thing we fell on, I think, is the top of mind. So the rest versus action, and do your best to pay attention to what is right for you. If you're one that is always going and always structured, try the opposite. Try the rest. Try the nature walk. And just stop having those focused to-do lists every day. So it's about balancing your energy. So I would say that's the first thing, since we rested on that. And the other is looking at your emotions. We touched on it briefly, as feedback, and to get you from being unstuck. Again, it's sort of like, don't try to figure it out. Be in the present moment. Write a list. What are you feeling? Rate them and connect to love. Have something handy, a picture, and you'll be amazed. It kind of gives the emotions somewhere to go. You're not holding on to them. You're acknowledging them. You're releasing them, and you're connecting with love. And just see how that can help in the moment to help you shift.
Very well said, my dear, as always. Well, everyone, thank you. And we'll talk again soon.
Okay.
My dear friends, once again, we have come to the end of our time together, and this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. I'm so happy you could be with us today. And please never forget, you are a powerful, eternal being. You never began, you never will end. And when you get that and all the implications of that fact, it changes everything in your life for the better. Next week, our guest will be our great friend, Peter Wright, who will be with us for the 21st time. By now, most of our listeners know Peter pretty well. He's a certified hypnotherapist based in Santa Barbara, California. He also holds the distinction of being one of only 40 board certified past life regression therapists in the whole United States. He has more than 25 years of experience working with thousands of clients in a variety of kinds of problems, and he's helped actually quite a few Seek Reality listeners as well. And for that, I'm very grateful to him because they're grateful to me, and I didn't do a blessed thing, but they come to me and they thank me that they've met him through us. He's one of our very frequent regular guests, like Craig Hogan, like Carolyn Mikey Morgan, and he always has something new and fascinating to talk about. So please be sure to join us next week. And this week, our wonderful guest has been Karen Fullerton. She's been with us for the second, but not the last time. Karen is a certified quantum energy teacher and thought leader around emotional freedom and well-being. Karen is now all about helping women, but I think she'll help men too, to emotionally flourish and spiral up. And her website tells us that she's a popular speaker who helps audiences to get their groove back. You know, we lose our groove, I think, if we started out in one direction and it wasn't maybe the best direction. So it can be a good thing, as she points out, to kind of pause and it maybe find another way to get excited about your future. She says that the people that are not doing that maybe need to really stop and get their emotions back again in the right direction. Emotions are the key to unlocking the power of your mind and really getting back on course. More than what you feel, emotions are energy frequencies guiding you to spiral upward in life, relationships, and business. Karen loves to awaken others to discover their inner expert and to facilitate self-empowerment. And if you're feeling stalled in life, then maybe a talk with Karen Fullerton just might help you get your groove back. Her website, as I recall, is KarenFullerton.com, so it's pretty easy to find. And as you know, our great friend Craig Hogan is the president and guru of Seek Reality Online. And whether you like it or not, your life is eternal. Yeah, some people say, I don't care. I'm going to die and be dead. That just doesn't happen to anybody. Our life really is eternal, like it or not. So go to Seek Reality Online, seekreality.com, and learn the truth so that when you go where you're going, where we're all going, you'll be ready and you'll be happy to be there. Learn the ultimate truth from our dear friend Craig, who is your worldwide ultimate expert on all things afterlife. And we are now, of course, working on teachingsbyjesus.com, which is your best resource for all the beautiful divine truths that are brought to us in perfect love by the greatest teacher of them all, Master Jesus. As we know, the religion that we have now called Christianity was not brought to us by Jesus. It was created by the Roman Emperor Constantine, and it is finally now dying, so Jesus can finally bring to us the truths that he taught when he was on earth. Those truths are given to us by Jesus on teachingsbyjesus.com, which is just now. It's been created, but it's not remotely finished. So if you go there, you can begin to interact with Master Jesus. I have, as we know, some books, but there's no time to talk about them. But they're all on my website, and they're available on Amazon.com and wherever books are sold. And all of the more than 550 past episodes of Seek Reality are available wherever audio podcasts can be found. And you also can see new video episodes each week on Roku, Fire Stick, YouTube, and elsewhere. Meanwhile, this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Please enjoy and make the most of this coming week in our one reality, always knowing that you, most of all, you are a powerful, eternal being, and you, most of all, in this entire universe, you are infinitely, eternally, and perfectly loved.
You've been listening to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Roberta blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Join us every week as we explore what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about the one reality we all share. Knowing the truth changes everything.